Hey, come here. Are you one of those who likes a buy one get one free offer in a market? Well, I just found you one of those. Let's begin. Welcome back, Audiophiles. It's me, your boy Joe, back again with another video, and this time we'll be looking at the OoopusX Op.22. Now, funky naming aside, this is coming from the OoopusX brand. It's a new brand that I'm looking at right now, which is really good for a particular reason, which I'll let you know in a minute. But first off, let's just get the disclaimers apart. This OoopusX Op.22 is given to me by ShenzhenAudio, so huge thanks to ShenzhenAudio for giving me this unit. But as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own and no biases whatsoever. If you do want to get the Op.22, I'll leave links down in the description below. They are non-affiliate links, so you can click them to your heart's content if you're into that. So the OoopusX Op.22 is a 2DD 2BA IEM, which is retailing at $34.99 if you are not taking the included pouch, and if you are taking a case with it, then it's $39.99. So basically the case is an extra $5 on top. So if you don't want that case or pouch or something, then you could get it in a cheaper price. But altogether, this is in that sub $50 bracket, so we're looking at a very nice budget-oriented IEM, and let's see if this one is the new benchmark. But with all the pleasantries out of the way, let's begin. So in terms of unboxing, we don't have much of an unboxing per se. It's just the box inside, and inside the box we have the IEMs, and like I said, we had two choices depending on whichever the type that you're selecting. We either have the included carry case / pouch, or we don't have that particular pouch. As for me, I am not having that pouch, so we're not going to talk about it, but the only thing that I have is the IEMs, and we have the included ear tips. Now without any further ado, let's look at the IEMs themselves. Here you go. As you can see, the shell is a kind of a black resin shell. They say that the material of this is pretty much different to how the standard resins are, but nevertheless it has a kind of tech-like cyberpunk-esque finish to it. And we have the ear hooks. So this ear hook is a QDC style cable plug, so keep that in mind. The pins are QDC. And as for the back side, if you want to take a quick look at that, you can see it's nothing much in it. It's pretty smooth and it's pretty ergonomic to boot as well. So as you can see, the ear hooks is slightly on the aggressive side, but I take this ear hook as a very comfortable factor because it's really comfortable to wear for long periods of time. The cable itself is a kind of a shiny finish cable. It's not sticky, but it does look really shiny. It reminds me of a few of those budget-oriented cables as well. We don't have a Y-split, so that's a little bit sad for me. I did prefer a Y-split to be there if I want a cable like this. And we're finishing off with a 3.5mm plug. The only other thing that is given to me along with this IEM is a set of ear tips. So as you can see, we have two pairs. We have the standard black color silicone pairs that you're always used to, and we have this other one which is a kind of a sticky style silicone ear tips. The sticky one is having a very good seal for me, and that's the one which I'm using always. And as for the black ones, it's standard, so there's nothing much to talk about it. So with all that said, why is this thing a buy one get one free? Well, let's have another closer look at it. If you have a closer look at the shell, you can see that the shell is actually having this kind of a nozzle in here. This knob is actually a tuning knob, and we have two forms of tuning. We have a base form, that's what is on right now, that full circle, and we have a neutral form, which is that kind of circle outline style that you're looking at that. So the full circle is the base form, and that outline circle is the non-base form. And that is really nice for something or a budget IEM to have, especially this kind of carrier. In terms of how it performs, we'll take a closer look in the sound impressions, but nevertheless, this particular feature is a really nice feature to have at this particular price bracket. So that's why I call this a kind of a good benchmark at this particular price bracket to have something which can be tunable. So let's go for a quick fit test. In terms of the overall fit, I say that it's really good. I have been trying some different games with this, and I can tell you I've been playing the games for long hours and I had no worries whatsoever. Especially with these kind of ear tips. The ear tips are really comfortable. It doesn't give me any kind of allergy or itchiness or scratchiness of the sort. Very nice, very good seal as well. The minute I put it in, it just like the world is silent. No cable slider, so that is something which is kind of annoying me, but nevertheless, here's the right side. And here's the left side. So like I said, the ear hook is actually comfortable. I have no scratching or anything of the sort with the ear hook. It's perfect size for me, so I had no issues with it. And in terms of the overall cable management, well, the cable is okay. It is prone to a little bit of memory, so it's not the best of 3.5 cables out there. It has a light twirl in it, but the twirl is okay. So with the earphones plugged in, it's time to move on to the sound impressions. So before we move on to the sound impressions, let me just give you the quick disclaimer like I always do. The frequency response graph is not the be all end all when I'm talking about sound signatures. It's truly of how you hear the thing. I'm just giving you a frequency response graph for an overall a look and feel to it, but it doesn't tell you the whole story, so take whatever I say with a huge block of salt. With all that said, let's see the frequency response graph of the OP22. So as you can see, there's actually two versions of it, the mode 1 and mode 2 obviously, and both of them have the differences in the bass region. So the mode 2, which is the bass mode on, is having a huge bass shelf which then goes down to the mid, while the mode 1, which is the neutral version, is having a very light bass but then just tapers back to the mids again. The mids is pretty clean in both cases, with the second version having a little bit of a bass bleed towards it, but the highs are identical in both of them, and those highs are actually going a little bit higher than I would have expected, and then trickles down to a lower presence region overall. So this one is kind of detail oriented, but it does have that extra bass on switch when you want it to be. So I don't call this the smoothest of trebles or anything. It does have a little bit of a bite to it, but it's not something which is unmanageable, but it does have the tinge of spice and bite to it. And when you put on the bass, it does balance it out. When you put on the neutral, it's kind of like a neutral bright-ish IEM to my liking. Nevertheless, for me in this case, when I am using this for gaming aspects, when I turn the bass on and then use it for gaming, I am enjoying it. While I was playing Tekken 8 with it, and my word, the kind of sound effects that you're getting from this is actually really good. In that case, the extra treble does help because it's kind of a gaming oriented IEM, I would say. So in that case, when you do put on the bass mode and then play games with it, you can enhance that bass effect. You could enjoy it. If you're a person who don't like too much rumble in your bass, then turn it off. And still, it's a gaming oriented IEM in that aspect, I would also say, because it gives that little extra details. I really like how the spatial awareness is working with this thing. The left to right and right to left is amazing. So the spatial awareness is really good. The stereo effect when you're trying to listen to where the footsteps are coming from when you're playing shooting games, for example. I played this with Hogwarts Legacy, and I can actually pick out where the different spells are coming from. It's that good. And in terms of the overall sound effects when I'm playing on Tekken, it's really nice. So it's enjoyable, it is comfortable, so I crank up the bass and then I just enjoy it as it is. So in that aspect, in games, it's really good. In overall music listening, I would say that there is an extra treble spice to it. It's not so much unmanageable, but it is having that little bit of an extra spice to it if you do notice it. And with the bass is actually pretty good. The bass is not so dirty as I would expect it to be. There is a slight muddle when you do put the bass on, but that for me as a bass head, I actually do enjoy it. I always turn it on. When you do keep it in the neutral, I kind of think like we're on a distant bass. So on the contrary to many people's opinions, I do like it with the bass on instead of off. So that's me on a bass head's opinion. Nevertheless, on the overall, it is detail oriented with bass on call. That's how I would put it to be. So with all that said, let's put some songs and give you song impressions for it. So before we get to the songs, one thing that I want to mention is that what I'm using to drive this thing. I am actually using the Venture Electronics Devastator Pro for this, because this is just at 3.5 and I wanted to give it a try with the Venture Electronics Devastator Pro. Before I tell anything about the Pro, I would like to let you know that there's a review coming soon for the Pro, so do stay tuned for that. But other than that, in short, the Devastator Pro is more than enough to drive these things. This thing can drive from literally anything. Even if you connect it to the PlayStation controller, you're well and good to go. It runs off a laptop, it runs off anything. But in terms of quality, the Devastator Pro is the really good quality in that aspect. So that's what I'm using to run with this thing. I've also tried it on the Gustard, but I don't want to do overkill by running a 3.5 off a Gustard stack. So before we get to the sound impressions, as usual, all the songs that I'll be listening to, I'll be giving it to you in the form of an Apple curated playlist down in the description below, so you can listen to the song that I'm listening to. So with all that said, the first song that we're going to listen to is La Lisa by Lisa. This one is a very nice song with very good bass rhythms in it, as well as high frequency instruments, so that's a pretty nice test to see how it performs. So in this case, I would say that with the bass on, for starters, everything that I'm going to be listening to, I'm going to be putting the bass on, but I will also give you some points on how it is with the bass off. I do try it with that aspect as well. So with the song, the bass is pretty good. It is not super thumpy, but it is a very nice overall enveloping feeling. The sub bass focus is very nice. It does envelop you in that aspect. It has a good rumble towards it, but then the bass thump, the bass slam is something that is, I find, a little bit lacking. With the bass mode on, I do feel a little bit of a bleed. It's ever so slightly, so I can't consider it as a bleed, for example. But then the mids are overall okay to me. It's pretty clean. It's very nice. The different instruments, the left and right, is very nice in there. When it comes to the higher ranges, because this one is female vocals, Lisa's vocals is on the higher end, and then there is a lot of tin can style drums in here. So the drums and the snares are pretty much in the high frequencies in here. I find that some of the drums are actually a little bit, ever so slightly piercing, so it is having that extra bite to it, like I said. So I do have to tone the volume a little bit down, a little bit. It's not too much for me, but then I do find that as a thing. Okay, so it's not the smoothest of trebles. It has having more extra clarity in it. So the clarity and the micro details is amazing in it. So that's something which is really good. But I do find that it serves to be a little bit aggressive for me. So that's something. On the whole, I find this pretty enjoyable because the bass is really good. The bass rhythm is something that I could find myself thumping towards. So that's really nice. Really good song, done pretty well with the OP22. So the next song that we're going to listen to is Let You Go YEO by Alphonse and Zillions. This is a really nice club style anthem which I enjoy a lot. There's a very good bassline rhythm to it. There's very good female vocals, and the bass line is something which I just enjoy a lot in this particular music. Really nice song to have. So in this one, I would say that the overall different details, the different layering is really good with the OP22. So in this particular song, I actually don't feel the sharpness of any of the higher frequency instruments. So it's really good. I do find it to be enjoyable. The bass rhythm is something which is amazing. Once again, that bass thump, the synths, everything is nice. There's a lot of different instruments out there, and this one is actually doing a pretty good job in all of the instruments. It's not muddling any of the different instruments up, and that's something I find enjoyable. So that's pretty nice out there. The different layerings, the different lefts and rights, it's all really good. I could even pick out each of the individual instruments. It's pretty nice in that aspect. So I do give credit to the OP22 for rendering this pretty well as it is. When I do turn off the bass, I feel like the bass rumble is absolutely non-existent at that point, so it's not there. It's not satisfying that particular urge of bass for my case, so I do turn it on. But when you turn on the bass, it kind of balances it out, and it does feel more V-shaped rather than a total neutral tuning, which of course it obviously does. So on the whole, really good song, done really well with the OP22. So what are my overall impressions for the OoopusX Op.22? Well, first and foremost, I think this is mostly gaming focused because the kind of bass presence as well as the details is going really well with gaming for that. And when you're trying it with songs, it does feel nice because if you were a neutral lover, then you just turn this off and then enjoy it in the neutral aspect. If you want to have how bass feels, then you turn on the bass and you enjoy it. So in that case, having those two particular distinctive sound signatures is really nice. If you want to start out with an IEM, I would really suggest this because you want to know if you're a bass head or if you're a neutral person. So if you're a neutral head or a bass head, you can get this particular IEM for that particular satisfaction, and you could even test out how different songs is with those particular tunings. And if you're gaming, maybe you will turn on the bass, and maybe if you're listening, you want to feel that neutral to that kind of little brightish experience, then you'll turn that off as well. So overall, I think where they're going with this is really nice, that you want to have that best of both worlds feeling, that you want to have either bass or not. And I say that the OP22 is doing really well in that regards. What things which I don't like about is that the overall cable quality is not to my liking. It's not having that cable slider. It's a bit on that oily side, so that's something that I don't prefer. It's also QDC, so some people are kind of hurt with the fact that it's a QDC. Honestly, if you just find different QDC cables, you're good to go, but since many people will have the standard 2 pins, so they might have some trouble with the QDC style pins that's used in here. But other than that, for me, I really like this for the gaming experience. It's really good, it's really comfortable, and that too, the seal is perfect with these kind of sticky ear tips. So what would I give as a rating for this? Well, certainly in terms of an overall gaming experience, it's really nice. In the best of both worlds aspect, it's giving you bass or it's giving you that neutral feeling. But since the overall treble, it's a little bit on the sharp side for me, so it's kind of a hit and miss in different songs. Some songs is pretty good, some songs I just feel like to the volume that I want to experience, I kind of have to step it down. So with that in mind, I give this a good 4 out of 5 because as a budget starter, this is really good, thinking of the price that this is a $30 IEM, and if you put the extra $5 for the pouch, then you would get yourself a pouch, so I'm not going to talk about that. So in the case of accessories, is a little bit lacking because for a $35 IEM, you just get earphones and ear tips, and you have to put an extra $5 on top of that for the pouch. But overall, the experience is very nice, and the fact that you're having a 2-in-1 earphone is good to boot as well. So that's pretty much my overall impressions for the OP22. Do let me know what you think about the OP22 down in the comments below. Are you having this? Which mode are you enjoying it? Are you a bass head or a neutral head? Do let me know down in the comments below. So with all that said, as usual in my videos, if you do like my videos, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like my videos, give me a thumbs down. I don't know. And as usual, I will see you in the next review. Peace.